Hey guys, how are you doing? Take a look at this. Some new concept art has been revealed for various Andor characters, and I want to highlight Luthen Rael. We've been speculating about his backstory for weeks. Was he once a Jedi Knight, or maybe someone who just knew the Jedi and was an enthusiastic art collector? While his concept art appearance gives off major Revenge of the Sith Palpatine vibes, the red robes, the grey hair, and the majesty of his look, I think that's all deliberate. Did Tony Gilroy design Luthen to be a parallel of Palpatine, but a parallel for the good guys, the rebel cause? Or maybe, was Luthen related to Palpatine? Maybe a relative he lost touch with, a third cousin, or something like that. Maybe one of the Naboo royals. I put this separately and in depth in a separate video, but I think Luthen knows Palpatine's secret, that he's Darth Sidious. For me, this concept art kind of seals the deal in some way. It's almost as if his robes are mocking Palpatine's position as Emperor. He has no respect for him, in fact quite the opposite, so he decides to mock him. So really interesting stuff. Let me know your thoughts of this in the comments down below. Now we're going to return to Andor in just a moment, but first we have a tidbit for the Acolyte. Lee Jung-jae, the star of Squid Game, has for the first time opened up about playing the male lead alongside Amandla Stenberg in the upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars show. Lee shared his excitement during a press and partner event called Disney Content Showcase held at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. In a brief statement, he simply said, "I star in Lucasfilm's original series The Acolyte. I'm happy to become a member of the Disney family. I hope you're looking forward to it." So that's pretty much it. As of right now, we still have no information on what character he or other stars are playing, but with this level of talent, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So that's all we have for The Acolyte. So moving swiftly on to the Andor series. An exclusive from Empire magazine just dropped. They sat down with Dedra Meero actress Denise Gough, and she confirmed some really interesting suspicions that some fans had regarding the season 1 finale, episode 12. Most notably something that Marva said in her speech that was later changed. So let's dive right into it, but first things first. So they say, shortly after receiving the scripts for Andor Season 2, Denise Gough, aka Star Wars' most terrifying new antagonist Dedra Meero, found herself face to face with the big boss, not Tony Gilroy, not Kathleen Kennedy, the Emperor himself, because as she was walking home, she ran into Ian McDiarmid. Apparently she said, "Hello boss, I thought if anyone took a picture of this, it's so brilliant," Dedra having an undercover meeting with the Emperor in Notting Hill. In the Skywalker saga, Palpatine was the Empire's fearsome figurehead, always looming in the shadows. But in Andor, Dedra is out in front, a dangerously driven Imperial officer with a desire for order stronger than the tractor beam of an Arrestor cruiser. Star Wars has a new face of evil, and it's the face of Dedra Meero. Now obviously when she's talking about running into Ian McDiarmid, it's not as if he was on set, so don't take this to mean that he's definitely in season 2, although I really hope he is. I think their meeting was just a coincidence, or was it? I guess we'll find out in 2024. They go on to say, that face, as in the face of Dedra Meero, is one of her primary weapons. Unlike Vader, Palpatine, and even Kylo Ren, Dedra isn't a Force user. She has no lightsaber, just an unwavering dedication to the Empire's ideologies. And a stare more bone-chillingly cold than the vacuum of space. Denise says, "My mother used to say to me, you need to smile because you can look quite sour if you don't. I have a natural downturned mouth." And overall her physical look, her appearance, especially when she's got a serious face, works so well in the context of being an Imperial, and she's so believable in the role. Every time she was on screen, her facial expressions, the way she talks, was so reminiscent of the original trilogy officers, like a female version of Tarkin, stone cold and very, very stern. They say in fact Dedra's face is so powerful, it does things even Gough's cannot. They explain filming episode 9's grueling interrogation, in which Dedra tortures Bix, her face took on a life of its own, and that's when Bix was being flooded with screams of a dying civilization, those children the Empire tortured, and they used their screams as a torture mechanism. And so when Denise Gough watched the episode back, she recalls, "How did I get my face to twitch there? I can't do that now. Even if I tried to do that for you, it's not possible." She even dubbed that certain sadistic tick as twitchy face Gough. I really love the fact that, very similar to Carl Solar, Denise Gough is nothing like her character. She's super jolly and happy in real life. She then talks about director Ben Caron, and he's the one who set up Dedra's character. The mannerisms, the little twitches, the subtle quirks, that kind of thing. Denise says initially Dedra was fixing her belt, doing her thing, and he went, "It's a bit swishy, don't do any swish, try it with your hands behind your back," and that was it. Everything was really economical, she became still. That stillness provides a presence so strong Vader could feel it a parsec away. So then, speaking about what it was like to be hired for the show, she talks about the first time she got the call, but it wasn't to see if she was right for the role, it was Tony trying to convince her to play it, because he was so impressed by her performance in People, Places and Things. And here's the insane bits, guys. Before Denise Gough got the Andor role, she was on the verge of quitting acting altogether. It's amazing how the universe rewarded her talent and showed her a light, a path, a way forward, during a time when she was going to call it quits. In her own words, she says, "I was just doing the play, and then I did another play and some TV and film." Denise remembers her agent saying, "So Star Wars have called," and she thought that's ridiculous, but there was one issue, two actually. She didn't know who Tony Gilroy was, and she knew next to nothing about Star Wars. Talking about Star Wars as a franchise on the whole, she says, "I think I saw them when I was a kid, because I have 5 brothers. I remember a piece of a toy that might have been the Death Star, or maybe that was Star Trek, but apparently Denise not knowing Star Wars was music to Tony Gilroy's ears, because he too was not a big Star Wars fan before the Andor show." In preparation for the role of Dedra Meero, she says she only watched Rogue One. She said she didn't want to watch all of the Star Wars films again because, quote, "I don't want to have too much information. I don't want to be doing a version of something or stepping into a club. I just want to play this woman." And in a way, guys, it's very similar to the original Star Wars film. There was nothing to compare it to, and so Imperials like Peter Cushing's Tarkin ended up having a very distinct personal role. Same with Dedra Meero, she's her own character in this big galaxy. And the 2 words to describe her character, in the words of Tony Gilroy, were fascist and badass. And so now, my dear friends, we get to the meat and potatoes. This is the big bit. They filmed the season 1 finale, episode 12, on day 1. That was her first day on set, Ferrix. It was at Pinewood Studios. She recalls the Death Troopers by her side, and they played Fiona Shaw's message, the message of Marva above everyone. So what we hear in the episode is what the actors heard on set. But this is the big bit, because there was one change to the speech. Originally, Marva said, "F*** the Empire," not "fight the Empire," but that was changed last minute, and I'm so glad they did, because "fight the Empire," that call to arms, is so much more powerful than "F*** the Empire," a second swear word in the Andor series and in the Star Wars franchise. Denise recalls, "From the very start, a rebellious spirit was in the air. Fiona's voice was over all of us." And she says when the actors learned about "F*** the Empire" as a line, they were all really excited about it, but in the end, Disney didn't like it, they were asked to change it. Speaking about Dedra Meero's arc, Denise says they haven't built her out yet, but season 2, which is filming right now, is going to be absolutely vital. Denise also notes that some of the script was changed because she physically could not mouth out the words. But one of the major things that stands out in this interview is how fascinated by Dedra Denise is. She loves the character, and that really shows on screen. The dynamic she has with Cyril, her presence, and the way that she dominates every single scene she's in. And this is my favourite quote from her. She says, "Dedra is a Trix isn't as interesting to me as Dedra is somebody who has serious issues with intimacy and is overwhelmed by this person's energy for her." And as we know, that relationship got really weird in episode 12. He's a stalker, she's awkward. Many of us are super excited how it's all going to play out in season 2. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you always.